We have a couple options of getting into a modify equipment command. We can always go up into the equipment panel here, and you'll see that this tool is always going to take you to modify equipment. You can also use the direct entry either in your dynamic input mode or in your command line of plant equipment modify. For this time, I'm just going to go ahead over to my vessel and I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to choose modify equipment. I'm going to make a couple of changes here just so you can see how it's done. I'm going to take that head off and I'm going to replace it with a cone. And I'm going to make sure I move that up to that end right there. When I select on the cone, I'm going to make sure that my diameters are good. I want it to match up to the one of the cylinder. So you see if I have that diameter here, I want to make sure that they match. And I'm looking at this, this D1. Diameter 1 is the one that I want to match, and then diameter 2 is the one that I need to take down just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that into an override mode, and I'm going to put that down at 1 foot. All right, let's take a look at what we have so far with that. And I'm going to turn this about just a little bit. And I don't want this to be really totally flat right here, so I'm going to go ahead and modify this one more time. I'm going to go ahead and above this, I'm going to add this little semi-ellipsoidal head. And then I'm going to make sure that it's fitting in where it's supposed to. I'm looking at the distance over here. That'll be about 2 inches there. My diameters are good. And let's see how that comes out. Perfect. And that's exactly what I want it to look like on the end there. Now, accessing our properties on our vessel can also give us some of the same options that we may have had for modifying the vessels. We can come in here and we can actually give this tank a number from here. I'll go ahead and give it the next available tank number. I'll assign that. And then, of course, if we want to change color or we want to override the color or we don't want it to be by layer anymore, whatever the case may be, you can do that here. If it's grayed out, it's not going to be one that you can change from the properties menu, but you'll see that you do have a lot of options that you can change from the property menu. Now, of course, we also have our little grip down here that we can move it by. We can specify it. Let's say I want to precisely move it 5 feet at an angle of 45 degrees, then we can achieve that as well. Okay, now another thing that we can do when we have this selected is that we can add a nozzle to it. Now we could always right click and add nozzle, or we can click on this little icon that we had right here and we can add a nozzle to it. So one of the things we can do is we can locate the nozzle. We can say if we want to put this on the top or if we want to put it on the bottom of there. We can locate it. Now I want to go ahead and locate this. If you notice radius, I want to put it right in the center of there. So I'm going to leave that at a radius of 0. I don't need that to be quite a foot, so I'll go ahead and change that to 6 inches. And I do want to make that perpendicular, so I don't want that to be leaning in any direction or the other. Although if you wanted to, you could. So that sounds good. I'm going to check out my type, and I do want it. I want it to be a straight nozzle. And I do want that pressure class to be there, and I'm going to check, and this is the raised face nozzle that I want from my spec. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and you're going to notice that I do have a nozzle right there at the end of my vessel that I've just created. And if I click on that, you'll see that I do have it. You can tell that since there's no pipe here, that you do have a disconnect, but if I add a piece of pipe to it, then you'll see that the disconnect moves. So that's all you have to do to do further editing to your 3D objects in Plant 3D.